Friends, I want you to know that you are in the presence of an absolute miracle right now. Very special moment. We are running exactly on time. And I will now take care of that. In between our 2 weddings this summer and our 3 weeks in Jerusalem that I spoke about yesterday, we celebrated Orly's 4th birthday in the beginning of August. So here we were at Orly's house with her parents, Ilana and Hanan, and her 2 new twin sisters, Meital and Dahlia, in Pikesville, Maryland, for her birthday party on August the 4th. And so after we all enjoyed some of Orly's birthday ice cream cake, Orly went out back with her newest aunt, Jenna, to play on her trampoline. Not just a little baby trampoline, really a full-size trampoline, you know. So Jenna, Orly's new aunt and Jordana's new wife, went to Penn State on a gymnastics scholarship. She graduated actually from the Chamonix High School. Penn State on a gymnastics scholarship, so she was an absolute natural on the trampoline. So here's the scene. Others in the family were calling out to Jenna with requests to do this trick and that trick on the trampoline. But I was just taken watching Jenna jumping up and down with perfect posture and rhythm on the trampoline, and not doing what I would have done so naturally on the trampoline, and that is falling on my... You know, everything sounds better in French, doesn't it? You know, it can't sound bad in French. So, on my derrière, right? So I was just watching, and I see that Jenna is just perfectly balanced. And Orly was doing her own bouncing up and down, but periodically she fell on her tush. So others were requesting the other tricks, as I mentioned, but I saw Jenna just in perfect posture, perfect balance, going up and down on the trampoline as the greatest trick of all. There was a beauty to the physical act, and for me, the metaphor that it represented. I watched, and I thought to myself, this is a High Holy Day sermon right here. Actually, I didn't get to that point yet. No. I watched and I thought, if we could only live our lives in such a balanced way and not too often fall on our tushes, we'd be okay. So then I started thinking about balance as one of the great ingredients of the successful life. And then I began thinking about addressing this topic on the High Holy Days. The topic of balance. The topic of our lives being in balance, or our lives being imbalanced. How are you doing? I have to tell you, I am one of the most unlikely persons to speak on this topic. I have never been able to balance my checkbook. It never happened. Not only did I never make it to the penny, I never made it close to like $10. Is there anybody that still balances your checkbook? Really? Really? I'm very impressed. You know, now you can just go online and you kind of get a sense of what you have in there. So, yes, I will be talking about technology in a bit. Catch you guys up to date. No. I am what is called an impressionistic money manager. I have kind of like an impression of, is there money there? Is there not money there? If I kind of like have the impression that there's some money there, then I'll go for it. If my impression is that it's not there, and now you can go online and check it yourself. My life, not only my checkbook, but my whole life used to be absolutely, totally out of balance. That was before I met Janie. And now, here I am perfectly in balance. So let me ask you a question. Is the zodiac a Jewish thing? Where is that question coming from? Talking about balance? Is the zodiac a Jewish thing? Huh? I see some people saying yes, somebody in the back shaking her head, can't possibly be Jewish, right? Well, it's a not so widely known fact that the zodiac actually plays a significant role in Jewish lore. There used to be a synagogue, actually the synagogue is still there, it's now restored on the Lower East Side, the Bialystok synagogue, that when you went in, there was a beautiful zodiac on the ceiling. And when you're in Israel, you have to visit what's called the Beit Shan synagogue in the Galil. And you have the archaeological remains of the synagogue, but the floor, the mosaic floor, is totally intact. And there you have a beautiful circle and all of the signs of the zodiac in Israel, going back 1,500 years, the Beit Shan synagogue. So, for example, my own zodiacal sign. You know, my birthday is September 21st. Last Sunday, right? It was just this past Sunday. And my sign is Virgo. The high holy days, as long as they're not early, as long as they're like this year, all of the high holy days, or at least part of the high holy days, comes out in the zodiacal sign of Libra, because my birthday happens to be on the cusp of Libra. So here we are, Libra. What is the sign of Libra? By the way, did anybody here take Latin in high school or college? You would know the answer to this. Really, Merrill? Saul, is that you back there? No, raise your hand if you took, I'm not going to call on you, but really, you took Latin in high school or college? That's very cool. Well, Libra sounds like library, but that's not what it is. Libra is actually the scales, right? So isn't it perfect for the high holy days? And I'm hearing some people saying the scales of justice. But I'm looking at it differently. I see those scales as representing the scales of balance. Life is lived best when the two receptacles are not like a seesaw, one high, one low, but about on the same plane, valued with about equal weight. So I want to ask this question and ask you to answer it to yourselves. What in your life do you really want to have in balance? Just think about it for a second. What in your life do you really want to have in balance? What in your life is right now out of balance, and you want to work on it to get it in balance? Got something? Okay, I'm going to throw out a few. One side of the scale is work. The other side of the scale is leisure. How balanced are they in your life? You know, it doesn't have to be 50-50. What does the Torah say? 6 days shall you work, 1 day shall you rest. So that is the Jewish calibration of the scales. They don't have to be like this to be in balance. You know, 6-1, that's our calibration. How is your balance of work and leisure? How about the two big E's? You know what that is? The two big E's, how in balance are they for you? Eating and exercise. In balance? Okay, I'll go on to the next one. I can see this is creating some anxiety out there. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something else. Okay, so maybe that's the one we really do need to talk about. Now let's move on. How about emotions? On one side of the scale are the emotions of the negative emotions: anger, criticism, disappointment, resentment, the negative emotions. On the other side, how about this? Happiness, praise, appreciation, gratitude. Which one has greater weight in your life? Positive or the negative? In this case, really, in order to be properly calibrated, the positive should be significantly more than the negative. It's also not a 50-50. Let's try this one. One side of the scale is our lives lived in the secular world, just like others. The other side of the scale is our lives lived particularly in the Jewish world. How balanced? Well, being here today really goes a long way in creating a balance. Goes a long way. One side of the scale is focused on me. And when I say me, not me, each one of us, focused on me. And Hillel said, Im ein ani li mili. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? So what's the other side of the scale? Not focused on me, focused on you, whoever your yous is, because Hillel also taught, Uksha'ani la'atzmi ma'ani. If I'm only for myself, what am I? One side of the scale is planning for, investing in, waiting for tomorrow, and the other side is enjoying today. Not only focusing on the destination, but enjoying the journey, savoring the moment. Now, I would imagine that I did not hit all of the important areas of balancing. So I'd like to invite just maybe 2 or 3. Something that you were thinking about, not necessarily because you're not accomplishing it. Maybe just something that came to your mind, something that needs to be in balance in life. If you have something, just raise your hand. Blood sugar. Yeah. When that is an issue, then it's an issue that you don't think about once in a while. You think about it every day, and you think about it multiple times a day. Right. And I guess we can all think about how much sugar comes into our system. It's kind of like a silent poison, just sugar in general. Yeah, I saw a hand back here. Harvey, yeah. I'll get there. Yeah, no, it's good. Okay, I'm thinking about it too. I will get there. Jan, all the way up front. Just stand up so they can hear you in the back, Jan.
Tzedakah, how much money you're going to put in, how it goes.
Oh, that's great. Tzedakah, how much comes in and how much goes out. Let me speak now about the annual appeal. Wait, there was a hand. Yes, Helen, go on. Oh, that's good. Intellectual pursuit, as on the other side, is mental laziness. Right, that's great. Intellectual pursuit, these are great. Yeah. You know what, I will be publishing these sermons. I'll send them out to you. They'll be online. Those of you who had these great lines, send them to me because it really makes the sermon look much more thoughtful. You're really? No, this is great. This is great. This is great. Maybe just one or two more. Stu, go on.
Virtual world versus the real world.
Ah,
Especially for our young folks.
I'm going to get to the environment. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. Yeah. I got something to say on that. Oh, Marv, yeah. No, Marv said Philly's right-hand batting. How about just batting in general? What's the balance of finishing the year in last place, Marv? What's the balance? Huh? First place. You know, I was talking about emotions before. I was feeling very happy until this moment. How do I even go on from here? Ay. Okay. Yeah, let's hope. Right. 3-0. Talk about the Eagles. So, coming back, the great Jewish philosopher and physician Maimonides would talk about what he called the Shvil HaZahav, the golden path or the middle path. And that was for this great philosopher, the path to take in life. And if any of you were philosophy majors and you say, that sounds exactly like Aristotle, it does. Maimonides was an Aristotelian. Helen, where are you? Helen, is this good for like mental, what was your term before? Mental what? Intellectual stuff. This is Aristotle. How's that? Maimonides. So, you know, in our society today, I think one of our big problems is that more and more people either fall on this end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum, which makes it almost impossible for us to come here together. So I would offer the approach, and I would describe myself as the passionate moderate. The passionate moderate, the middle path. I was talking to someone this past year who I hadn't seen for about 25 years. I was so happy to see him. Stopped in the synagogue. I invited him into my study. We were sitting and talking. I happened to know his son and admire his son very much. So he said, my son's a great guy. He said, he's such a liberal. He's a father about his son. He said, my son's a great guy, but he's such a liberal. And then he went on to say about himself, and he said, and I'm to the right of Attila Dahan. No, he wasn't talking about me. He's talking about himself. Well, when you're to the right of Attila Dahan, the whole world looks too liberal. The passionate moderate as opposed to the extremist. We see all too clearly what extremism and zealotry is doing to the world today, and especially in the Middle East. Take the middle path. We see what happens when extremism blends with religion and what hatred it produces in religion, in Judaism. I choose to take the passionate, moderate, middle approach. That is the approach of conservative Judaism. We are not on the right, we are not on the left, but we take this passionate, moderate approach in the middle. And now I come to technology. Who said technology before? Stu? Yeah. So, technology, which I love in general, I think has also taken our lives out of balance. Wouldn't you say that? Technology has taken our lives out of balance. When you are waiting all night in line so you can have the newest iPhone 6 on the very first day, you are out of balance. I am very happy with my iPhone 5 for now, but I have to admit, I can't wait for that new iPhone wristwatch. I might be waiting at night, all night for that one, right? You know, I've been waiting for years to be able to talk to somebody into my wrist over here. So I have calculated how many hours you need in a day to read your email, answer those you must, keep up with Facebook and post now and then so you don't seem antisociable to all of your dearest 400 closest friends, follow the great thinkers on Twitter and tweet a bit, and this is all without any real-life communication. It takes more than our waking hours in a day. Our lives are out of balance. Does this describe you? I read an article in the Israeli press, it was about a month ago, about our inability to handle any downtime, our inability to handle any quiet time. And so the writer mentioned what we do when we're in the supermarket, or what I do in Starbucks when I've ordered a grande decaf caramel frappuccino, and I have to wait maybe 90 seconds for it to come out. What do? I start looking for where my cell phone is. Check some emails, check some messages, send an email, send a text, right? We have lost the ability to just be. You ever try just being? And not being connected to someone on the other end, but just being. I pulled up to a red light the other day, and another car came right next to me. There was a gal in the car. She was unbelievably talented. She was smoking in one hand. She was texting with the other hand. And she was driving without a brain. And then I'm calculating what are the chances that she makes it in one piece to the next light, right? You know, like, when do we become just out of balance? So some of the best companies in America want to restore a balance. And here's what they're telling their employees and they're telling their executives. Be interested to know if any of you working in any firms, large or small, if this directive has gone out. They're telling their employees and executives not to do work-related email after 5 o'clock, after 6 o'clock, after 8 o'clock. And they say that if you send an email because you just can't help yourself, the idea comes to you at 11:15 at night, and you just can't help yourself not to send that email to a colleague, to a superior, to a not superior, do not expect to have that email returned. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. I don't want you to have to admit this in public. How many of you check your email right before going to sleep? No. Some people can't help raising their hands. So, you think you could do that to get some balance into your lives? Huh? No work-related emails after, you pick the time. Hopefully the time is not 12 midnight, but you pick the time. Studies show that those who refrain from constantly being in a work mode, who live a more balanced life, are more productive when they are actually working full throttle. They're more creative because they're living balanced lives. They spend some time thinking outside of the work box. And some companies are also demanding that their employees and executives take a certain amount of time off a year, both to recharge and to have experiences that balance their lives at work. Because life is a balancing act. That's what I've entitled my talk this morning. Life is a balancing act. Who said the environment before? Who said the environment when I asked for? Harvey? Yeah. So look, our whole planet is out of balance. And who's paying for that? We're paying for it. We already see the disastrous results in so many ways. Isn't it the case that this past year, since we were together on the last High Holy Days, there have been more really serious storms and snowstorms? Feels like every other day my electricity goes out. And when the electricity goes out, it's going out now for like 3, 4. I mean, for us, we had it 24 hours with no. But some people are having it 3, 4, 5 days, right? You ever remember this as kids? 5 days with no electricity? In Oxford Circle, the electricity never went out. How's that? What a great place. Well, there are more and more severe snowfalls, more deadly droughts on the West Coast right now, deadly droughts, more storms, more melting, and all of this in the extremes that we have never seen before. Only extremists in denial can deny the reality of what is happening to our planet, of what we are doing to God's planet. Here's some good news, finally. There is natural gas and oil that has been discovered within the United States. And the good news continues. Cities in the Rust Belt are coming back because new factories and plants are being built to mine and transport the fuels. So Tom Friedman writes like this. He writes that with this great discovery, we could actually cause a reduction in oil prices throughout the world. And this would have an impact on President Putin in Russia more than all of the sanctions that we're placing on him and on his cronies today. Right? With all of our natural gas and oil, we can have an impact on world oil prices. But Friedman goes on to say the big question, though, is whether we will rely totally on these welcomed vast reserves of fossil fuels, or will we use this time and revenue to continue to develop reusable energy sources like the sun, like the wind, just as T. Boone Pickens, whose name I love to say, has been telling us to do for years. Will we reduce consumption? Will we reduce the carbon we emit into the environment? If we live totally imbalanced lives as we do today with our environment, the story might be a sad one. If we learn how to get balanced, then we are doing a favor to God's planet. So, the Shvil HaZahav, the golden middle path, balance. I hope you've all given some thought and will continue to give some thought about those areas in your life that are today out of balance. And what we can do this year to create a new balance. Get our acts together. Not having those scales totally lopsided. Becoming like this. Yes, this is the day for us to think deeply about our lives, our relationships, and the world in which we live. The more balanced we are, the more we take that golden path of moderation, the greater the quality of our lives. We pray for another year to add to the quantity of our lives. We are then to work on the quality of our lives, to live as best we can. It was once said, life is like a box of chocolates. Who said that? His mommy. He says, as Mama said, right? As Mama said, life is like a box of chocolates. Who said this? Life is like bouncing on a trampoline. I did. Said it today, just now. Some keep falling down, even falling off the trampoline. Some have learned to balance and keep going on. That is a prime trick of being written b'Sefer HaChayim, in the book of life, in the book of a quality life. So my wishes to all of us, Gemar Chatima Tova. When the books are sealed, may we each be sealed in that book of life. Amen.